Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about how to be a good raid leader. So first of all, understand that being a raid leader is work. It's a lot of work, and you're going to have to put in extra time and extra effort into organizing your raid and making sure that it is flawless. The more time you spend in preparation, the more smooth the run is going to be for your raids. So I'm going to be talking about the Asian VT raid, as this one takes the most out of me because I need to put in more effort and more time, and it does use a lot of mental strength. And I'm going to explain to you why it requires more mental strength to manage my Asian VT raid compared to my regular first raid. So let's jump into it. So first of all, you can see over here, this is my Google Sheets folder. So you can see that I have a lot. I have Asian VT Boss 1 role sheet, copy of SK, Asian VT responses. I've got my Twilight Temple, my Vortex Temple, and I've got a bunch of other templates. So the reason why I have all these templates is because I have a Google Sheet for each raid, as well as each boss fight. So we can see here for Asian VT responses first. So you'll see that on Asian VT responses over here, I've put a Google Docs, like a Google survey, that people had to fill in certain details, such as, their character name, their Discord name, what class they play, a link to their BNS tree, as well as their DPS, etc. So they fill out this, and then I color code it for my own personal use. This way I know who is interested in doing the VT raid and who is not interested. And I'll just take the people who are interested, and I'll be able to organize and make a roster. Keep in mind, Vortex Temple does require a team composition of certain classes in order to pass certain bosses. So you do have to keep that in mind while making your team composition. So after you've organized your roster of your set players, what next thing you need to do is you need to assign roles per boss. So for example, let us jump into the SK. For Scion's Keep, it is slightly more complicated because there's a lot more things going on. And you can see here that on this role sheet, I have people like, for example, who's doing the tanks, who's doing conductors and stealth, who's doing 80 for the melee ad, who's doing the range ad, and I've got all the roles over here organized. So whoever's driver, who's mark and bait, who's farm mark, who are conductors, and where they need to stand for conduction. Over here, I've got after 35%, what orb everyone is sunning, who's killing ads, who's doing breakdowns, and it's very organized. And the main reason why you want to have things organized before the boss fight is that way everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows what they're going to be doing. Everyone knows what the role is, and it'll make the run a lot more smoother. You don't have to be, doing call outs on the fly, telling people like, oh, we need you to do this now. Instead, it's going to be like, oh, 35% HP, everyone get in position, everyone knows what they need to do beforehand. So it's a lot easier, and it really prevents mess ups. So now I need to explain, why does the Asian VT one tax me mentally so much more compared to my regular first raid? The main reason is because the Asian VT has a very dynamic roster. What do I mean by dynamic roster is we have about a core 6 to 7 players, which is a core, which they usually don't rotate that often. Usually it's a set 7 players. However, other than the set 7 players, the rest are dynamic. So what do I mean by dynamic? It means every single week I get different players for that. And it's not because I'm selling carry raids and these slots are just fills for people that are actually buying items. I don't sell carry raids. All of my items in the Asian VT are free. And it's just because a lot of people have real life things to deal with. So for example, we have certain players that just graduated from school, they're moving back to their parents' place, and it's a process. They need to move all their stuff over, and they need to fly back to their home country and stuff like that. So obviously they can't play. Other people, they have to deal with Chinese New Year, they have family things, they have family commitments, and it's very understandable. So it really depends on the mental strength of the raid leader. If your raid leader does not have very good mental fortitude, like for example the Asian VT raid would not work for you guys. But because I have a lot of experience and I have the mental strength and flexibility in order to juggle these issues and solve them, I can still host the Asian VT even though we're missing almost half of our raid all the time. And it's not a big deal as long as you can overcome the issues. However, it does get rather taxing over time because eventually you're gonna hit that one day where it's like, oh crap, we need a player, but we can't find a player playing the certain class. A good example would be Scion's Keep. Scion's Keep, we need a stealth. We need 2 stealths usually in order to pass the sword dance. However, you know, there might be a day where you can't get another summoner or you can't get another assassin, and then you just have to wing it and you have to find a way in order to survive that phase, survive the marks. So it does get a little bit troublesome in that sense. However, it really does build up mental fortitude and flexibility, like the ability to think on the fly. So I stream my Asian VT every Sunday at 3 p.m. my time, because that's when I host it. But you can see on the stream that I do spend quite a lot of time before the boss fight, and you'll see it on stream as well. I'll be typing up and editing this file particularly. I'll be taking out names, filling in names, making sure that the party roster will work before actually screenshotting it and posting it into the Discord to let everyone know what their roles are. And it gets easier over time. However, it is still always a challenge because you're always switching out players over every single week. So it does get a little bit troublesome. However, in my point of view, I don't mind because I see it as a practice. I see it as practice to think on the fly, to let myself work under certain pressures. Honestly, I don't see this as anything high pressure because it's just a game, in my opinion. As long as I do the best of my ability to make sure that everyone and the run goes as smooth as possible, then I know I've done my job. Obviously, there are days where I put out the roll sheet and certain things are wrong and people correct me, and then just learn from your mistakes. When people correct you, you don't criticize them. Don't be like, oh, you do it instead, you know? I know a lot of people get very defensive when people give them criticism, or people say like, oh, you got this wrong, and say negative things like that. But I don't see things that way. I just see it like, okay, you know, they pointed out something that may be wrong. I analyze it in my head. If it is wrong, then I admit, okay, oops, I made a mistake, I'll fix it up, you know? And that's how I see things and how I absorb things. Because to be honest, most people, when they point out something wrong in your video or in your rosters or in your mechanics, whatever, they usually don't mean it in like a, oh, you suck type of way. Like, it's not an attack. It's usually just some constructive criticism. And it's really depending on how you perceive it, how you read what they write, or how you understand what they told you. It's really a mental game. So that explains the SK thing. And, you know, it's just a lot of preparation. So what I will do to help a lot of raid leaders out there, which are just starting to form raids, is I will link you my Vortex Temple Boss 1, as well as my SK guidelines. So this document, I will link this document directly in the description below. You can click on it. And what you want to do is, after you click on the link and you open up this sheet, you won't be able to edit anything because this is my personal sheet. So you can't edit, you won't be able to change the names or anything. What you want to do is click on File over here and click on Make a Copy. When you click on Make a Copy, it'll make a copy which you can edit to your liking, that will work for your roster, and that way it helps you stay organized. That way, when you guys are hosting raids, people are going to be like, hey, this guy's a really good raid leader because he's organized, because he knows what he's doing. And that way, you know, you become more likable. People think that you're responsible. People are more likely to want to raid with you or join your raid because they know it's going to be fast, it's going to be efficient, or at least they're going to have a good time in your raid. And that is really what it boils down to. People apply to certain people's raids or want to join other people's raids mainly because they either want to progress and they want it to be as fast and as painless as possible, which being organized does provide that, or they just want to have a good time. And if they want to have a good time, it really depends on the raid leader's personality, the raid leader's aura. And in my raids, a lot of people like to raid with me because I'm very easygoing. And I'm never hard on the players themselves. I'm very hard on myself. I'm very strict to myself. But I don't have the same expectation for my players, for my party members in my raid. However, I do have certain pet peeves. So, you know, like one of my extreme pet peeves, which all of my guild members know is I really don't like to waste time. So when a raid starts at 3 p.m., I want people to be on and ready at 3 p.m. And that's one of my small pet peeves. But other than that, if it's out of your control, for example, like you launched your game and it crashed, or you're having really high ping, you need to reset your router and stuff like that, I'm very understanding of that because I understand the pains of having bad internet, the pains of having a bad computer or slow computer, and stuff like that. But obviously, that's just me. It really depends on what type of style you want to host your raid in. Certain raids, for example, I've been in progression raids where it's very strict. It's we're here to progress. That's it. You know, I don't care if you're having personal issues. I don't care if you're this and that. We're here to progress, and that's all that matters. So you better fix your time schedule and make it work for this block because you signed up for it. So, you know, that's like a 180-degree flip of what I'm doing with the Asian VT raid, because the Asian VT raid to me is technically the 4th raid. So it's very casual because my progression raid is done, you know, I have a progression raid. So this to me is just something to do on the side, it's something for fun. While my progression raid on the other hand is slightly more serious. Obviously, it's not to the degree that I just made an example for, but it's a little bit more serious. So, you know, when people are there, when we're focused to do our progression rate for the 2 hours that we allotted for, those 2 hours we're focused. We're really there to progress. We're there to learn. We're there to practice, and we're not there to just mess around. There to just have a good time and chat. Obviously, having a good time is a strong point that my raid usually has because it's just the vibe that we have. But progression does take priority in progression raid. So in conclusion to all of this, how to be a good raid leader, it's simply to understand yourself, understand how organized you are, and understand that you are going to need to put the time and the effort in order to make a roster sheet at the bare minimum, as well as being able to do simple shot calling and understanding mechanics in case anyone has any questions. As when you are the raid leader, a lot of people are going to be looking up to you. A lot of people are going to be asking you questions for things that they don't know, and sometimes you even have to be very proactive and you have to explain mechanics even if nobody asks, because there are a lot of people out there that don't know the mechanics but are too scared or too embarrassed to ask for help. So even on SK or on Twin Asuras and stuff like that, even just orb blocking, I'm more than happy to explain it several times, even during the raid. Let's say we've wiped once or twice and we wiped because of the same person. Then I would take the time and I'll sit down with that person and I'll be like, okay, so for your role, you need to be doing A, B, C, D. And I'll just ask them that if they're okay and if they fully understand the mechanics after explaining the mechanics to them. That way they can just say, yes, I understand it, or they'll be like, no, I don't really understand this point that you just said. So you don't victimize them, you don't make them look dumb or look stupid in front of the party. You just repeat and you explain the mechanics and you just ask them, okay, is there anything unclear? Is there anything that I can explain better to you? Or is there anything that you need me to explain in more detail? And stuff like that. So you make everyone look good in the raid. Don't victimize anyone, and just be like a source of knowledge that you're a service provider to the party, basically. So it is a lot of work. It is really difficult. But if you want to be a very good raid leader, I do recommend you to either somewhat follow the path that the methods that I use. Or if you have your own methods, you know, you're more than welcome to use those. And again, I'm just providing some resources to you guys, which you can use if you want. If you don't want it, it's perfectly fine. Anyway, I hope this video helped. If it did, I would appreciate a subscribe. It really does help out my channel. And thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.
What can I say except you're welcome for the heals, the boosts, the